Hello and welcome back. My name is McShan, Central Texas real estate agent, and today we're talking about living life in Central Texas. So, if you have questions about what it's like living in Central Texas, whether you're moving here, relocating here, or you've already been living here, you're really kind of just assessing what it's like to live in Central Texas, here's a video for you to dive into. So, as far as like location wise, I think one of the benefits for living in Central Texas is you are super centrally located in general across so much in Texas. So, you can literally get to so many of the locations that are your larger populations of Texas. I won't say the place that you want to visit. But when it comes to less than 3 hours, you can be in Austin, San Antonio, Dallas, or Houston, and even Waco. For those that are going to be working here and living here, we're also conveniently located next to Waco as well as Killeen, both about 30 to 45 minute drive to those general metro areas. Into Austin, about an hour. So for many people, I think location and centrality is definitely one of the major attraction points for living in Temple. Otherwise, I would also say that parks and recreation are also a really big piece because you pretty much have the amenities and the convenience of living in a city, but you have so much to do in regard to outdoor recreation, even Lake Belton and access to Lake Belton and so many different parks, specifically a Crossroads Park, which is not far from the home where I currently live, that just truly has so much to offer for the city. And that's something that a lot of people appreciate, even the tennis courts. So we typically go to the tennis courts pretty often, and they are free and open to the public. Just really nice facilities. There's also a soccer field and soccer facility and baseball, softball, a whole lot of stuff. So for those that do have kids, that's also a really great benefit on top of the great academic reputation of both Temple ISD and Belton ISD. Overall, if you look at different third-party sources, Belton ISD does typically rank a bit higher, although I've heard of amazing things for Temple ISD as well. And I've also heard, just in my personal client relationships, that for those of diverse backgrounds, Temple ISD may or may not necessarily be a better fit when it comes to just the social environment and inclusion aspects than Belton ISD. So even though Belton ISD has a stronger academic reputation, that's not always necessarily the same case or experience for all individuals and all students of all diverse backgrounds. Which also leads me to just diversity in general. As you think about Texas as a collective and Central Texas specifically, Temple is very diverse in both ethnic and also just overall demographics, which is definitely something that many people consider as far as where they want to live and also where they would like to raise their family. And that's something that Temple has a really significant kind of step forward or hedge on when it comes to other cities and areas throughout Texas, and even in just professions. So whether that's working in manufacturing, we have quite a few manufacturing jobs. We have quite a bit of military families that also live here. We also have quite a bit of medical and healthcare professionals that live in the area. Plenty of educators and also public officials, city administrators, and so forth. So really across the board, you just really set yourself up for a very diverse community that really just overall enhances and enriches the experience for everybody that's a part of the community. Otherwise, I would personally say I love the conveniences of Temple, Texas, because you pretty much have a lot of, city amenities, whether that's stores, shops, restaurants, conveniences like nail salons, hair salons, and so forth, all in such a small area that makes it very easy to zip around. And I continue to see things developing in Temple, Texas, and West Adams in particular is like booming right now. So if you are considering living in Temple, Texas, or you're just starting your research, I would definitely consider researching and looking up just West Adams Avenue. Even if you go on Google Maps, you can just see so many of the new developments, whether that's restaurants, Dutch Bros Coffee, Mr. Car Wash, because I love Mr. And Aldi is also located in Temple, Texas. Not on West Adams, but it is in Temple, Texas. So those are all things that I appreciate and consider. There are 2 Chick-fil-A's and there is a Buc-ee's. So Buc-ee's is also a staple, primarily for travelers, but it's also kind of a thing that's kind of convenient, especially in like not a large area of Texas, to have like a Buc-ee's in your backyard. So I love going to Buc-ee's for the brisket sandwiches, and this is super new, but Buc-ee's is now in the process of actually installing a Tesla supercharging center. It's supposed to be over more than 48 supercharging stations for Tesla, and Tesla said they may or may not open up their superchargers or EV charging to other brands and so forth. But altogether, in general, that is a major win to have a supercharging station located in the city. So that's a major advancement for Temple, Texas, in my opinion, both for travelers that are coming in and throughout the city, and also for those that are residents that may not necessarily own their home and still want to take advantage of, driving an EV, or just those that might, charge at home but need to get a supercharge and speed on their way, whether they're going to Waco or to Austin and so forth. So those are major things that I think really make the overall experience in living in Temple pretty convenient, on top of academics, on top of diversity, on top of just overall parks and recreation and so forth as well. Now, when it comes to commuting specifically for work, a lot of people that are relocating to the area for PCS to Fort Hood often ask, like, what is it like living in Temple, Texas? I've heard about it. I would definitely say the drive is definitely a drive. So it's about 30 to 45 minutes, depending on which gate that you're going to be going into on post. So for some, that is a major detractor because you have to drive at least 30 to 45 minutes to get to post. So if you're trying to get there for PT, that's a whole thing there. And also just factoring in other aspects of the convenience of being near post. For some folks, though, and like for my spouse in particular, we appreciate having a little bit of a distance from post. And my spouse even kind of considers it more of a meditative piece when it comes to driving into work or coming home from work. Like, you have some time to process. And there are some back roads because you can't go in through some other gates and avoid some of the highway traffic on 190, because otherwise you can be stuck in traffic. Because if some break down, it's a holdup. It's very often that there are delays. However, they have recently expanded it, and it is very nice and smooth. It's a real smooth ride. You go, oh, I like my car. But those are things to consider. However, I think some of the benefits, which are actually kind of neck and neck when it comes to some of the stores, shops, restaurants, and conveniences, because Killeen actually does have just as many of the same conveniences that Temple has. If anything, I would say in Temple, they are a lot more centrally located, which is convenient, on top of having like the really great parks and recreation. That also brings me to just a public administration standpoint, and I do not get into politics, and I'm not the one, so if you're going to comment, drop a comment, do whatever. I don't do politics, and I'm not going to be responding to you. However, I will say that like my overall experience as a resident of Temple has been very positive from a public official and like public administration standpoint. So literally, it's simple things like setting up your water bill and the experience that you would go through in Temple. It is a very clean and seamless process. You can do everything online. I won't necessarily name names, but I have had clients, and I have clients that have had to do so in other cities and areas, and it is a whole process to literally turn on your water and get trash service, or get questions answered, or get a request answered. On top of just centralizing so much information, so if you look on the templetexas.org website, they just have so much information when it comes to different events that are going on around the city. First Fridays are a really popular thing now, where you just really have an opportunity to engage with the downtown sector. Beer, I try to avoid, making the channel or the videos a bit, whatever, but hey, it is what it is. So beers, dining, live entertainment and so forth, those are all things that are truly highlighted on First Fridays. Even just shopping with local vendors and so forth. So those are all things that are really beneficial. And even in general, things like the fireworks show for the 4th of July, like we love, like we actually sat out on top of our roof this past year because we're right near Crossroads Park, and the city puts on a phenomenal fireworks show. So it's different things like that that really just bring the community together. That's definitely helpful, and a lot of that comes from the efforts of so many individuals with the city planning, and also just in general partnerships and sponsors and so forth that are also able to make those things happen. But I feel like those events and those activities are very well organized and also communicated for so many people in the community to take advantage of. And I think that is, for one, a very significant plus for living in Central Texas. And I had some other things that are on my list, but ultimately I think, that's what it was. Of course, the neighborhoods. Neighborhoods are one of the final things that I would definitely say makes a strong case for living in Temple, Texas, is that you have so much diversity in both locations, neighborhood feels, and also price points. So the downtown historic Temple district is like very well preserved. So you have some homes I'm talking about built in the 1920s that are still extremely preserved and high quality. You can just tell they've been very well maintained. So for those that are interested in that type of dynamic of living in a home with such historic character and charm, you absolutely have that. We also have our general areas of Temple where, though that mid-century modern era is like really just screaming and like really like highlighted in so many of the communities in Temple. I would say in most of the communities outside of the areas of newer development. But you also have another side of Temple that's also like filled with new construction developments. So if you go around all of the West Temple area, especially anywhere near West Adams, like all you see is construction and new developments. Even in South Temple, we're also seeing some developments that are also at a lower price point. So altogether, I say that is a benefit for the city because you have so many different housing options. No matter what your budget is, I think affordability is something that you can definitely work into, whether that's buying or renting in Temple, Texas. If you want to go high end, there are opportunities to get into spaces, looking out, overlooking the lake and so forth of Lake Belton. Or if you're looking for a modest average home, you have plenty of options there as well. So altogether, I, as a resident of Temple, Texas, truly love it and appreciate it. I drive back and forth to Killeen, Texas every day, just about. And after a while, like the drive just kind of gets normal. I'm not sure if that's just me as a real estate professional and having to go back and forth between showings or closings, appointments, and so forth. But it's definitely something that I've gotten used to, and I love having the ability to also zip around to different areas. So I'm back in Waco sometime, also again 30 to 40 minutes. So I appreciate the centrality of living in Temple, Texas, and I've just heard so many great things about the academic experience when it comes to being in Belton ISD. That I'm very excited to think about the experiences both in the classroom and outside of the classroom for my kids and future kids and so forth. So if you have more questions about living in Central Texas, if you have more questions about just overall living in Central Texas in the area or PCSing for a hood, feel free to give me a call. Me and my team would love to assist you, and you can give me a call at 254-276-3551, or you can follow the link that I will drop in the comments and go to DonMcShan.com to research more and start your search. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I look forward to checking in with you all again, and I promise it will not be as long since that last video.